You either drop in packet 3 or not. If it's correctable, who gives a crap? I mean, it's corrected. But normally with single carrier QAM, if you had a lot of correctable, eventually it's going to turn into uncorrectable. It was kind of like it's given me an idea how close I'm getting to a breakpoint. Same with the SNR. But there's been so many cases where SNR was inaccurate. It wasn't the correct reading. The mod profile I used would dictate the SNR readings because it was based on the station maintenance mod profile that burst. And what was the preamble? It was so many things. Pre-equalization affected the SNR. The line card, whether it was a TI chipset or a Broadcom chipset, that could have affected my SNR reading. And it was so many things coming out and these variables coming out. It's like, all right, well, what's my bottom line? Well, uncorrectable effects the bottom line, but I still need some type of metric. And I said, never rely on one metric. Start pulling it all in to make an informed decision. When we went to OFDM, OFDMA, we found out correctable FEC was something that's not even reliable at all. It could say 100% correctable FEC, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like, take that one off the block. It still could be used for single carrier QAM, but don't try to use correctable FEC for OFDM, OFDMA. But the SNR, still lots of variables. Like, what if there's no traffic at all? Do you get a good SNR reading if there's no actual traffic? Well, you still have station maintenance going on.
Yep.
But you could have SNR that's not being updated or very often. So you can induce an impairment, but you might not see your SNR catch up for a little while until all the station maintenances happen. Yeah, there's a lot of variables that go on, and like you're talking about and alluding to, we need to look at all of them. All these parameters, correctable FEC, uncorrectable FEC, SNR. I used to, for physical layer problems, I still like to rely on CNR. I'd like to have something with spectrum analysis capability to do a visual look just to see. Now, SNR and CNR are not the same. They could be if the impairment is just noise. But when you get into group delay, micro reflections, you're not going to see that probably on a spectrum analyzer, just frequency versus amplitude.
Yeah, and Mark says, I'm experiencing sometimes upstream uncorrectable code word issues without SNR issues. And that's exactly the theme of what we're talking about here. That's very common.
That's kind of the flip side of that. Is like, if uncorrectable FEC is my biggest concern, why not just monitor that to make decisions? Because impulse noise. Impulse noise will create uncorrectable FEC, but SNR, because impulse
will be good.
On off, SNR is average, so you never see any problem with SNR. So we need to look at both of them.
Yep.
That's right. And I say that again, John, because I think that's the answer to, I think it was Mark's question. We see both instances, right, where you have a degradation in measurable SNR and you have, the resulting failed FEC or correctable FEC. But then on the other side, power line, gap noise, impulse noise, you see the failed FEC. And if you have a really good swept-tuned spectrum analyzer with really high sweep speed and really good resolution, you might see it.
Maybe.
The noise, maybe.
Yeah.
But your SNR is not impacted, but yet you have significant, code word errors or failed FEC.
Let me throw a third one in there for you. Let's say noise floor looks clean, no impulse noise, you're slowing down the sweep speed, turn on peak hold of your spectrum analyzer, you don't see anything. What if you have time offset issues? What if one modem's time offset's messed up and he transmits because the CMTS told him to transmit, and he overlaps with someone else's data? So on a spectrum analyzer, it just looks data and data, data and data. You don't see noise, but one person's data is actually noise to the other guy because it's overlapping in time.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see that in like capacitor utilization, like if a channel's like 100% utilization for 3 periods of time, and you'll have 100% failed FEC typically on that channel. We call those rogue modems stuck on stupid sometimes.
How about this one, Mike? You might have heard this one, phantom modems or phantom traffic, where we get a modem that just transmits and it gets into like some weird loop. It's not even asking for much, but as soon as I find that modem and shut them down, it cleans up again.
It fixes things.
Those are the hard ones to find.
Yeah,
phantom traffic, ghost modems.
All right, hey, I want to quickly address a question from Hank Yon. He was asking that when we were talking about the PMA discussion, and it's does a modem changing from one IUC to another impact service, video conferencing or voice? And I mean, the general answer is it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to have any impact when it goes from say 4096 to 1024 QAM, or from 1024 QAM to 4096. It should be able to go through these modulations, but that's not to say that there haven't been modems with some firmware deployments that glitch when they do that, particularly if they're rapidly changing. If there's a lot of noise in the environment, we have seen issues. But if you have good modems with recent firmware, ideally they should have absolutely zero problems changing from between profiles. I don't know if either of you guys want to add anything to that, the experiences or lessons learned.
From the Cisco side, I've been gone over a year now from Cisco. But at the time for upstream, he's talking about IUCs, so he's talking about upstream OFDMA, we required a single carrier QAM for voice traffic. So we could still guarantee jitter and latency concerns because of the scheduling in the single carrier QAM. So you would still cross-bond OFDMA with single carrier QAM, and if you had an EMTA, that voice traffic would go over the single carrier QAM.
Right.
Now that might have changed since then. So if you think about it, if I'm changing the IUC on my OFDMA, the voice is not going to get affected because it's on its own channel anyway.
It's dedicated, it's pinned up.
Yeah. So other than that, the modem comes online. It uses IUC 13, which is usually like 16 QAM to start out with. And then once the CMTS and cable modem dictate and learn that the SNR is good, it seems good, hey, you're a good candidate for 2046 or 2048 QAM, then it'll start using that IUC for 2048 QAM. And then if the SNR is bad, or I have a CM status message, or a bad MER, then it could, or uncorrectable FEC, then it can drop back down to IUC 13 if it really needed to, all the way back to 16 QAM.